Welcome to The Explainer. I want you to start right now by picturing your everyday medicine cabinet. Go ahead, just open up that mirror door in your mind. You're probably seeing those little orange prescription bottles, foil blister packs, maybe some neatly branded cardboard boxes. We're so used to thinking of medicine as this purely synthetic thing, right? Something born in a sterile laboratory full of glass beakers and scientists in white coats. But what if I told you that the true origin of some of our most crucial life-saving remedies isn't a modern lab at all, but actually the quiet, unassuming, natural world right outside our windows? Today, we're diving into a fascinating source document that maps out the absolutely incredible, highly complex chemical production lines hidden inside everyday plants and animals.
Think about some of the most famous, widely used drugs in human history, and then look at their surprising botanical origins. Aspirin, your basic household staple for a headache. Its core compound comes straight from the bark of the willow tree. Taxol, an incredibly powerful drug used in modern cancer treatments, that originates from the bark of the yew tree. Morphine, literally one of the most potent painkillers known to modern medicine, comes from the poppy plant. And quinine, the malaria treatment we've relied on for centuries, that's derived from specific trees in the Rubiaceae family. We kind of have this habit of separating nature and human medicine in our heads, but they are completely undeniably intertwined. Okay, let's dive into this staggering data point. Scientists over at America's National Cancer Institute actually ran the numbers on pharmaceutical approvals over a 25-year stretch from 1981 to 2006. And they calculated that a massive 70% of critically important drugs introduced to the market during that time were derived directly from nature. 70%. The vast majority of our biggest chemical breakthroughs aren't purely human inventions at all. They're human discoveries of natural phenomena. Nature is quite literally doing the heavy lifting here.
So that brings us to the central mystery of our explainer today. We really need to ask ourselves, how exactly do simple plants, we're talking about organisms with no brains, no computers, no conscious intent whatsoever. How do they manufacture these mind-bogglingly complex, life-saving molecules? We casually accept that a poppy plant just makes morphine, but the actual biological process behind it is almost impossible to wrap your head around.
Let's slow down for a second and look at how this incredible complexity actually builds, using morphine as our example. Morphine doesn't just magically appear inside a plant. As the source text outlines, it's the result of an incredibly intricate process involving 15 to 20 highly specific steps. Just think about that. 15 to 20 distinct stages of chemical alteration. At every single step along the way, the exact right enzyme has to be applied to the molecule. If just one step, literally one, is out of order, or if a single enzyme is missing, the whole process fails. No morphine is created. It requires absolute, flawless precision.
To really put this into perspective, the text points to Professor Jörg Degenhardt from Martin Luther University. When he explains how medicinal components are produced in time, he compares the plant's chemical synthesis to a production line in a factory. And that's exactly what it's like. He notes that every single stage must be perfectly coordinated. The final product you want only emerges when those stages are completed in the exact right sequence. It is literally a microscopic, highly regulated manufacturing plant operating right inside the leaves and stems of the herbs growing in your garden.
And Professor Dean Della Penna from Michigan State University, who researched how the Madagascar periwinkle flower cranks out cancer-fighting drugs, highlights another wild point. He notes that countless plants are just effortlessly producing these compounds that we either use directly as medicine or tweak just a little bit to make new drugs. And because plants do this so naturally, he believes we are sitting on a vast, completely undiscovered treasure trove of plant molecules. These factories are out there, running day and night. We just haven't discovered all their products yet. But wait, here is where the story takes a really cool turn. If you thought this chemical wizardry was limited just to plants and trees, think again. Nature's hidden pharmacies extend way beyond the botanical world. The animal kingdom is actually running its own set of highly specialized, covert medicine factories, often in some of the most unexpected and honestly dangerous places. 1,000. What exactly does this number represent? Well, researchers, including Professor Michael McIntosh from the University of Utah, were studying the seemingly humble sea snail, and they discovered that within this sea snail's venom, which has over 100 different compounds in it, there's a single component that acts as a painkiller 1,000 times stronger than morphine. 1,000 times! For millions of years, way before humanity even existed, this tiny sea snail was operating an ultra-potent painkiller factory deep beneath the ocean waves. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how a deadly threat was actually flipped into a life-saving therapy. Down in the banana plantations of Brazil, workers were tragically getting bitten by rattlesnakes.
But doctors started noticing a very specific symptom. The victims experienced a massive, sudden drop in blood pressure. So researchers dug into this to find out exactly what molecule in that snake venom was causing the plunge. Once they isolated it, they reverse-engineered it into a synthetic version, the absolute blockbuster blood pressure medication known as captopril. The snake, while just hunting and making its deadly venom, was simultaneously manufacturing the blueprint for a drug used by millions of people globally today. And this brings up a pretty humbling contrast, highlighted by researchers at the Forschungsverbund Berlin Institute. When human chemists try to utilize these natural compounds, they face a monumental uphill battle. They first have to map out and build these intricate, three-dimensional designs of the molecules just to wrap their heads around them, let alone synthesize them. We need intense study, advanced tech, complex 3D modeling. But nature? Nature's factories produce them blindly. The plant or the snake doesn't need to understand 3D design. It just effortlessly executes the manufacturing. The sheer scale of this biological engineering honestly leaves even the top experts in complete awe. Dr. Chris Battershell, a leading marine chemist out of Australia, perfectly sums up what we're looking at here. He notes that even the tiniest marine creatures possess what he calls mind-boggling complexity in the chemicals they biosynthesize. Mind-boggling. That is the exact phrase a top-tier scientist uses when looking at the chemical blueprints nature is casually working with. The crucial takeaway here is that human innovation is fundamentally reliant on nature's imagination. Take this quote from Dr. David Newman at the National Cancer Institute, talking about that cancer drug we mentioned earlier. He says, "Unless a chemist saw Taxol, they would never have thought to make it." The complexity of that molecule is so deep, so totally non-obvious, that human intelligence couldn't even invent it from scratch. We literally had to be shown the blueprint by a yew tree. Which naturally leads the source material to ask the ultimate, overarching question. We see the factory, right? We see the flawless 15-step production line. We see this intricate chemical coordination happening in a weed, a tree, a snail. So, who built this factory? Who designed this production line? How did a plant, which has zero consciousness, learn to manufacture a cure for a human disease it doesn't even know exists? To answer this profound question of design and origin, the source text pivots to a theological resolution, using what it calls a methodology of faith truths. To explain the existence of these biological factories, it cites a verse from the Quran, Al-An'am verse 99, which reads, "We send down water from the sky, and with it we bring forth the plants of all things." The text's perspective here is that this verse encompasses the pain-killing plants, the cancer-curing trees, and by extension, creatures like our sea snail. Within this specific worldview, the flawless design of the production line is answered by attributing the creation and instruction of these natural pharmacies directly to a divine creator who brought forth all things. But, regardless of how you personally approach that philosophical question of their origins, the undeniable reality presented in our explainer today is absolutely awe-inspiring. Inside these totally unassuming natural organisms, from the bark of a tree to the venom of a snail, the world's most complex, highly coordinated medicine factories have been running flawlessly since the very beginning. They hold the blueprints to our most vital cures, reminding us that sometimes the most advanced medical technology on Earth is just sitting there, waiting to be discovered on a forest floor or a coral reef. So the next time you take a simple aspirin, you've got to ask yourself, what other life-saving secrets are nature's silent factories producing right now, just waiting for us to find them?